Yahoo President Sue Decker tells Madison Avenue that the online advertising world is on the cusp of a renaissance and is dropping hints that the company is still engaged in conversations with Microsoft. Obviously, a lot to talk with her about. She is fresh from her keynote address at the Advertising 2.0 conference in New York. And first on CNBC, Susan Decker joins us on Power Lunch. Good to see you again, Susan. Welcome back.
Nice to see you, Sue. Thanks for having me.
You basically have penned 3 deals today from the likes of Walmart and Havas and CBS, which will vastly change kind of Yahoo's, or enhance, perhaps better said, Yahoo's platform, because you say we are in this renaissance. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we think this is a really exciting time for display inventory, which is really how the internet got started with advertising. And then after about 5 years of that, most of the innovation was in search. And we now really feel like display is about to hit a renaissance in which it takes the friction out of the buying and the selling of advertising. It's very difficult to do that online today. It can take 2 weeks to put a campaign up and find all the right audiences. So Yahoo's really focused on how do we make that process less painful and really release the creative resources and energy around building brands and driving products.
Hi, Susan. It's Dennis Deal. So you did a deal with Walmart, and you're going to be their kind of agency of record, in essence, right, for the online world? That's pretty big stuff.
Yeah, you know, we have started the strategy a couple years ago, starting with eBay and Comcast and a number of very high-quality publishers. We're so happy to add Walmart.com to that roster, and we will be representing their display advertising on their site and also video advertising on their site. And that's very, very exciting. And in combination with the eBay audience and Yahoo Shopping with Walmart, will offer advertisers 76% of the retail online audience.
Okay, you also have signed up something like close to 780 newspapers for this big consortium you've got. It started in November of '06, but only now are we going to begin to see the thing actually roll out, and you're going to be handling ads for these guys?
You know, we started with a Hot Jobs deal where the newspaper consortium distributes our Hot Jobs listings. And it has grown and expanded since then. As you point out, when we first started, actually we had a quarter of the number of newspapers we have today, now close to 800. We added or announced the addition of more than 90 today. And the next generation of what we're going to offer them is to be their ad management system, fundamentally allow their sales forces to sell advertising on Yahoo, allow our advertisers to have access to the best local inventory in the world in an easy-to-do fashion. And
you can save them.
Yeah, we're launching that platform in Q3.
You know, Susan, the stock is up 2 2/3% at $26.85. And although those deals are significant ones and very interesting in this time, the thing that has the stock buzzing is your comments that you were in ongoing discussions with Microsoft. Can you be a little bit clearer about what types of discussions those are, and are they designed to keep Yahoo independent?
You know, what I said today, I think, is pretty consistent with what Steve Ballmer said last week at the D conference and what Jerry Yang and I reiterated later in our interview, which is that Microsoft has indicated that it's in discussions with us about various partnerships, and those have been engaged conversations. We have been engaged with them over the last 4.5 months on a number of different ideas they've had, and as long as they enhance shareholder value and can maximize that, our board would be very interested in different ways to do that.
Given how much you've been doing on the advertising front, it seems like Yahoo would be crazy to simply outsource its ad to either a Google or a Microsoft. Are the talks in part regarding outsourcing your ad function to someone else?
You know, I can't comment on the specifics of any kind of partnership discussions.
Okay.
but
all right,
thank
and also, Sue, I gotta come at you with this. I realize you are not on the Yahoo board, and you had nothing to do with the board's approval of this severance package, a retention agreement, where if someone comes in and there's a change of control, Yahoo could pay out anywhere from $470 million to $2 billion to its employees. Now, your biggest shareholders were upset when Microsoft walked away, and they felt like Yahoo had been a little resistant. And now they might be even more upset about the severance agreement. And since you had absolutely nothing to do with it, let me go ahead and grill you on it anyway. And tell us why the board felt like this is a necessary thing. I know that in a takeover rumor thing, a lot of employees start looking for jobs elsewhere.
I think you just hit on the core point. Many companies have change of control agreements with acceleration in them or some way to keep employees upon a change of control. In this kind of situation, it is the asset that Microsoft was interested in, the asset that our board believes that we have that's so valuable is our talent that is creating next generation products and services. And it would be very difficult for an acquirer if the assets left, and so this was designed to keep the talent there until the date of a close of a deal.
You know, though, and I know you can't comment and won't comment on Carl Icahn's statements and his proxy battle, but he did have a very interesting quote in the Wall Street Journal about the fact that this was put in at the time that the Microsoft discussions were ongoing. how can, and he says, quote, how can Yahoo keep saying they're willing to negotiate and sell the company on one hand, while at the same time they're completely sabotaging the process without telling anyone, indicating that the net cost of that severance package would be a deterrent to almost any company, even one the size of Microsoft.
You know, on the contrary, I would say that the $45 billion acquisition price was about keeping the talent. And since Yahoo didn't have any way to keep the talent in a situation that was fairly destabilizing, I believe the board was appropriately trying to make sure that the value that Microsoft was after was intact if there were a deal.
And the way this works,
if I can just ask follow up with one question, Dennis, I'm sorry. And you know, Sue, one of the issues. I mean, you come from Wall Street. I first met you when you were working on Wall Street, and you know how the street works. Obviously, probably better than any president that's in the office. We put together a timeline, and when you look at what happened before the Microsoft bid, during the Microsoft bid, and post the breakdown in those talks, regardless of what type of talks you're having now, there was significant loss in the stock. And there are those on the street who are saying, if you don't do a deal with Microsoft, you know, you're doing shareholders a disservice. The street reacted to the idea of the Microsoft bid by running shares up considerably, and it has lost considerable strength since then. Don't you have to do a deal, if not with Microsoft, with somebody?
You know, the goal here of the company and of our board is to maximize shareholder value, and of course when there's a...
But isn't that what a deal would do? I mean, that's what the street is indicating.
Absolutely, and as we've said before, Microsoft walked away from the deal. There was a discussion about what value was achievable and other terms that were never really discussed in terms of certainty of value and regulatory certainty upon close. And we never got to those because there was a disconnect between what the company's worth and from our board's perspective and what Microsoft was willing to pay.
If it doesn't work out with Microsoft, regardless of what types of talks you're having now, doesn't that share price performance mean you have to do a deal with someone else then?
Our board remains absolutely open to any conversation with any company that would maximize shareholder value.
Hey, Sue, just one more thing on the severance agreement thing. So that baby's in place now no matter what. And if there's a change of control, even a friendly change of control, those expenses kick in and that $470 to $2 billion happens. Is that right?
The way that severance agreement works is it retains employees through the closure of an agreement. So the expenses would only kick in post the closure of the agreement. And as Microsoft said very publicly, they were willing to pay quite a lot to make sure that the employees stayed with the company.
And so they would have spent
should protect
money anyway?
any kind of acquirer.
Okay, thanks so much. We
Susan,
appreciate you being here.
thank you. You're a good sport.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Segueing